Dan Hooker came out like he was scared. And I don't know if it was scared or just what the filling out process.
I think he was trying to have a feel out process.
Has you not seen any of Chandler's fights? There is no fill out process. Chandler does not have a fill out process.
You would think.
And that's why I said we talked about this for the last 2-3 weeks now. Chandler in a 3-round fight is going to be very hard to beat for all of them. It doesn't matter who it is, and it was like tonight, like you've got to get in his grill and make him blow his wad in that 3-round fight, and it wasn't there when Hooker started setting pace and circling around and trying to figure out what he was going to do. Chandler started, if you looked at the last fight with Benson Henderson, he started now throwing combinations off of his switch stance. So he walks forward as he punches and he changes the direction.
Switches that stance.
Yeah. And he changes the direction in which the punch is coming. And when he does that, it comes from different angles. And so it doesn't matter if you're 6'2" and you're long and lanky, because he's actually closing the distance by stepping in and switching and throwing the power. He's got power in both hands. He does. People handpick his right hand, but guess what? He's got power in that left hand as well. We saw that.
He put out Benson Henderson in his fight before this, and now put out, put out Hooker. That's where the left hand is what put Hooker on the deck. Yeah. So I think the thing to look at here, and everyone's going to say, "Oh, you're a Bellator homer. That's why." No. Yeah. If you looked at the fight, I will tell you this: Michael Chandler is a good fighter. Dan Hooker is a good fighter that did not show how good of a fighter he is in this fight. And he's going to have to figure out what he did wrong. But I do think he gave, I don't want to say it was too much respect. I think he was trying to figure out the timing on him. And he kept circling, but nothing was coming Michael Chandler's way. He was giving some feints. He was giving some little movements with his feet that he would come a little bit and make Chandler kind of stop. But there wasn't anything offensive really going towards Chandler, and there had to be something. The low kick he was trying on the calf, it missed. Okay, we'll switch it up. Just keep him at range. At range, you have a great advantage. Why not keep it there and make him feel like it's hard to pass this barrier and get into his range? Yeah. I don't know where the game plan came from, whatever it was, but I know Dan Hooker is a way better fighter than he was able to show in this performance.
John, I'm going to tell you this, and I feel like this is one of those scenarios that I had talked about probably about 3 weeks ago, and I said, these guys in the top 6 in UFC, they have no idea who fucking Michael Chandler is. Want to know why? They don't watch Bellator.
That's okay.
And I'm okay with that. What I'm saying though is this: when all these guys came over from the WC and all these guys came over from Strikeforce and they started winning, it's because those guys in the UFC never cared to pay attention to what they were doing, what the other fighters were doing in their weight class, never realizing that one day they may come over. If you are fighting in the UFC, you need to be watching every fighter from other organizations, because they are eventually going to feel like the good ones are going to eventually try to find their way maybe into the UFC. Or in Chandler's situation, Bellator was like, look, you just got knocked out by Patricio and we feel like you've lost your value and you're asking too much money, so let's just let you go. And that's really what happened. It came down to like he wanted a ton of money. And so when he wanted a ton of money, like, you just lost to our 45-pound champ, go ahead and test the market. He tested the market and he just said, look, we don't want to do this. But my point is back to the Hooker situation. I really feel like these fighters in the top 5, top 8, whatever it is, they don't pay attention to other organizations. In these type of situations, it's going to cost them. It's going to cost them, because guys like Chandler that are going to come over that are just, they're sleeping on, oh, you're older, oh, you're washed up, or oh, you fought in Bellator. They're going to continue to say that. And these type of things are going to happen to them if they don't pay attention.
Well, that's true, but let's make something very clear here. Michael Chandler did lose to Patricio. He got knocked out. He got hit behind the ear, which is something that you saw it with Andrew Sanchez tonight. Mm-hmm. Andrew Sanchez was fighting a tough fight. I think he was losing the fight, but it's hit behind the ear, and look at the chicken dance that he was doing, and it put him out of the fight. That can happen to anyone. Yep. But absolutely, Chandler lost to Pitbull. But then he came back and he did a first-round knockout against Sidney Outlaw, and he did a first-round knockout against Benson Henderson. So he has 2 wins in his prior 2 fights to this one that were in Bellator. So he had come back and he had proven himself. It was just, there's difference of opinion on someone's value, and you've got to go with what is best for you. And it was time for Michael to move on. But like I had said on the podcast, and people can sit there and, say I'm a homer, which they normally call you, but I'm not a homer for anyone because of where they fought before. I just know when a guy is good. And I know that Michael Chandler is a good fighter, and he can beat anybody on a given day. Now, I'm not saying he can't be beat, but this is the Michael Chandler that I was talking about. This is the aggressive guy who's got speed, and speed kills.
Yeah.
He is fast. When he steps on the gas and he pulls that trigger, it's fast, it's powerful, and that is difficult for anyone to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, like, as much as it pains me to say, it says like vinegar coming out of my mouth, he's a good fighter. Yeah. He's a really good fighter, and I've never doubted the fact that he's been a good fighter. People just were trying to do the MMA math, like Will Brooks didn't do well in the UFC, and he beat Chandler.
Matter.
I also said this is different. This is a different era of fighting,
and it's also a different mentality.
Yeah,
this is what people don't, and I'm not going to get into what happened with Will Brooks, but there is a difference in every human being out there. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing that I can guarantee you from Michael Chandler, and we talk about confidence all the time, Michael Chandler does not lack it in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And so he's a different athlete going into that organization than some other people were. People talk about, Ben Askren. Ben Askren was a shot fighter as far as he was an older guy. He had a hip that needed to be replaced. He had done all of his fighting. It was over, really. It was a chance for him, and he went out there, did his best. But Michael Chandler is different than both of those guys. He going in, he can beat any of them. Now, the one that I don't think he can beat, I don't see him beating Khabib ever. I think Khabib beats him every day, Monday through Sunday. But everybody else, he can beat. That doesn't mean he will. Dustin Poirier would be, in my opinion, the toughest fight. And I would probably say that I would put Dustin, if that fight happens, he would be the favorite in that fight, in my opinion. Based upon everything he's done and the way he fights and the way that he can carry a fight on, I think Dustin Poirier is the favorite in that fight. But, Michael Chandler can fight with anyone, and he's trained with most of them. They all know.
Yeah.
There's some of the guys in there, they know. That's why those guys weren't taking that fight.
100% agree.